Sooner or later, you're going to want optional requirements in your protocol. So here's how to do just that. So here's an example I've chosen to work through. Imagine you have some sort of router that makes you move to home screen or move to settings. And we could have intro view controllers that have requirements specified by that protocol. So here the intro view controller can move to home screen and move to settings screen, which sounds fine. But if you have the home view controller also matching the requirements of root, then you'd also have to move to home screen, and you already are the home screen. It kind of doesn't make sense. So you want to do better than this. And here's one way of doing better, in that you can have a default implementation for the root protocol. So the intro view controller is as before, but the home view controller doesn't need to have this home screen implementation. We can just delete that from there and it will work fine. So it seems great, but unfortunately you don't know if you're using a custom implementation or the default implementation when you're doing this. There's no easy way of telling. So you may have buggier code using this method. So there's another way to have an optional requirement. Having a protocol which is in Objective-C, so is visible to the Objective-C runtime, means you can have an optional requirement. And there you go, you've got what we'd actually like. You don't need to move to home screen from the view controller. And it seems fine, but you resort to use the Objective-C and there's a few technical things you can't do. And there's actually a real answer to this. Having optional requirements doesn't really make sense. And when we're using Swift's protocols, we want to have the smallest possible protocols possible, which means we should be using 2 protocols for this. So therefore, the intro view controller there takes on the functionality of home root and settings root, takes on the requirements there, and home view controller only takes on the requirement of the settings root protocol. So the real answer is kind of optional protocol requirements shouldn't really be optional. But I've ran through some ways that you can make it if you feel, as the developer, it's something that you have to have. Here's the thing, you have 3 different ways of having optional requirements, but an optional requirement doesn't really make sense, so arguably you shouldn't be using any of them. But this is one of the things that's down to the developer and how they implement their code and how they structure answers to the problems that they have. So this just gives you some of the tools to be able to do that. So it's optional whether you subscribe or like. It's not a requirement.